Hello. Welcome everyone. Welcome back to day 3. Sometimes I feel like it's day 5 already. It's been a long 2 days already. We had a long night last night, and I appreciate you coming in early again. I would like to talk a little bit this morning about the challenges that we face. The CIP Forum is very much about working together to identify the challenges and to collectively work on solutions. I want to talk about 3 challenges. Everything seems to come in threes, so I thought I would stick with the tradition. Also going to stick with the tradition that Marshall Phelps started yesterday about using PowerPoint. See if I can divorce myself from that for just a few minutes. One of the problems we had, one of the challenges that we had was stated a number of years ago by Mr. Ian Harvey, who was up on the stage in the same position, I believe, when he told everyone that intellectual property has a bad brand. We need to work on the brand of intellectual property. It's been a number of years, but I think we're starting to understand that, but we haven't gotten there yet. I think the general public doesn't get this warm and fuzzy feeling when they hear about intellectual property. And this is, of course, problematic, because understanding of intellectual property as a foundation for wealth and welfare creation is extremely important. And so people need to understand that intellectual property is not born good or evil, so to speak. It's in the way that we use it. And we very much need to understand this fundamental key and to be able to understand the challenges and come up with solutions. So Ian, I think we're very prophetic there. I think we still have some work to do. Damon yesterday spoke about the ages, the different ages. And I think one way to talk about this maybe is we're in the beginning or the end of the beginning. The end of the first age of understanding what it is to create wealth and welfare in a knowledge-based society. I think maybe another way to challenge this a little bit more is to say we're in the age of responsibility. I think when we're at a paradigm shift from one type of economic paradigm to another, in the beginning we continue to try to do business in new ways, but still holding on to old principles. And what we really need is to be able to take a step back and be able to understand what it is that's extremely important in the old way of doing things and what's necessary to do in a newer way. So it's very much, in order for us to build a sustainable future, a sustainable wealth and welfare creation, it's extremely important that we understand how capitalism was built in the industrial age and understand what are the differences as we move forward. How is it that we need to build intellectual infrastructure, which we will talk about today? We build roads and bridges to move physical things. We need to be able to understand how language and legal systems and norms and business models are the carriers of knowledge-based wealth and welfare creation. The challenge, of course, is to play the game at the same time that we create sustainable rules that will benefit both developed and developing countries. And thirdly, I think it's important to understand that this is difficult, that we are all sons and daughters of the Industrial Revolution. We all very much have been working over the last 200+ years to perfect and to create wealth and welfare out of an industrial economic paradigm. So much so that in order to do this in an efficient way, the division of labor has become smaller and smaller. We struggle to see the forest through the trees. And it's important that in order to be able to create wealth and welfare in the knowledge economy, that we're able to take a step back, challenge the structures that we've created over the 200 some odd years, and think about how new structures can be created. And this, of course, is not an easy task. It is extremely challenging. I think we heard yesterday very much that we have to understand intellectual property as core business. We can't see it only as a legal issue. It has to be seen as a core business issue. We heard Kevin, Rivette, and Rude, and Marshall talk about business models. Very much about how to understand intellectual property in a business context is something that needs to be explored and is key to the creation of wealth and welfare. What does it mean to create intellectual assets, property, and capital? How are these terms different in the context of an industrial age and in the context of a knowledge-based age? these are things that need to be explored much further. And I hope that CIP Forum is helping to facilitate this discussion. I think we also heard a little bit from Takeshi Isayama as well, and Terry Adams talking about building structures on intellectual asset management beyond intellectual property management. So today we're going to talk a little bit about that in one of the sessions on intellectual property management and intellectual asset management. What does this mean? Again, challenging ourselves to look beyond the paradigm that we were born into and see what, not only how things could be done better, but how things, not only to be able to do things better in the way they have been, but to think about how they could be. Solutions for this. I think Margareta Bolin-Pettersson, our chairman, spoke yesterday about CIP and its role in providing a contribution in this. Of course, we're all part of the solution. We talked about people, we talked about tools, we talked about infrastructure, and of course we talked about capital. At this point, I would just like to point out people. I know we don't have that many of our students here right now, but certainly the students, the 60+ students that work in our graduate programs here at CIP, they very much for us are the future. And they have spent a lot of time and effort over the last few days and even more time before that to prepare this conference, to create a platform for which we can build on. So I hope the students, and most of them can't hear me right now, but I hope they understand how much we appreciate all their efforts. And I hope that they have been able to create an atmosphere for you to understand that CIP is not an event organizer. We're a place where we're trying to grow key people to build the future, and we very much want to work together with you to do this. To facilitate this discussion even further, we've developed a magazine this year for the CIP Forum. It's not so much as a way to tell you what we think, but to instigate the dialogue. We very much want to, as we say, challenge the ideas. We want to be able to create more wealth and welfare creation out of the capitalistic system that we live in. And we very much look forward to your comments and to collaborate with you on this future. It's been said that may you live in interesting times. And I think that it is very interesting times, sometimes too interesting. But I think together we have the ability to make a difference. And I think that's what's most important. Thank you.